Welcome back, everyone. Houston Math Prep here, continuing our journey on factoring past greatest common factor. You will need to know how to do greatest common factor to do the factoring by grouping here in this video. So if you haven't seen that yet, check out our videos and examples on doing greatest common factor. Factoring by grouping is one of the methods that is very useful in factoring trinomials. Factoring trinomials is one of the most common things you will see in an algebra class when you do some factoring. So we want to do factoring by grouping. All of the other factoring methods are based on factoring by grouping. You may arrange it and organize it a different way, but it's really based on this method. And that is the idea of just looking at pairs of terms and pulling out the greatest common factor and making sure that what you have left over matches nicely. So here I have 5x squared plus 10x plus 2x plus 4. It's 4 terms. And the idea is that we're simply going to look at the first pair of terms and pull out the greatest common factor. So if I look at these two terms, the greatest common factor is 5x. And if I say what's left over, 5x times what is the first term? Answer is x. And 5x times what gives me the second term? Answer is plus 2. So now the idea is that I'm already starting to say that x plus 2 is going to be a factor. So x plus 2 should be found in the other half as well. So we go ahead and we look at the second half, and I say, well, what is my greatest common factor over here? Well, it's 2, so we'll go ahead and say plus 2. And once we've pulled out the 2 times what gives us 2x, x, and 2 times what gives us the plus 4, answer would be plus 2. So you can see that we found a shared factor of x plus 2 in each half. So x plus 2 is a factor. And it turns out, how many x plus 2's do we have? Well, we have 5x of them, and we have 2 more of them. In other words, we have 5x plus 2 of these. So the other factor is 5x plus 2. The short explanation of that is your inside that matches is one of your factors, and the outsides, as long as these match, become the other factors. So we have x plus 2 times 5x plus 2 for this first one. Let's look at some more. Here we have 3x squared plus 12x plus 7x plus 28. Looking at the first pair, what we have in common, the greatest common factor, would be 3x. I can pull out a 3 and an x there. Left over in each term, 3x times what is 3x squared? Answer is x, and 3x times plus 4 would give us the 12x. Okay, so I can go ahead and know that I'm going to have x plus 4 over here. You'll see that it happens. So if I pull out the GCF back here, I will get a positive 7. If I pull out the 7 times what gives me the first term there, it would be x, and 7 times what gives me the second term, it would be plus 4. You can see we have matching factor of x plus 4. And how many x plus 4's do we have? Well, we have 3x over here and 7 of them over here. So those outside terms combine and become 3x plus 7 as the other factor. I'm going to do this one more time and talk through the second half just slightly different than the first couple of examples here. So I've got 10x squared minus 20x plus 9x minus 18. I'm going to do this first half exactly the same. Looking at the first two terms, I can pull out both a 10 and an x as the greatest common factor. Left over, 10x times what is the first term? X. 10x times what is the second term? Negative 2. Now, talking through this just a little bit differently, I'm already saying that x minus 2 should be a factor if this factors by grouping. So what I can also do is think about, in the second half, I need to find something times x minus 2, and just write down x minus 2 and ask myself what times x minus 2 gives me the second half, because if it's a factor here and a factor here, that's how the grouping works. So what times x minus 2 would give me 9x minus 18? Well, the answer is plus 9. And if you're not sure, you can think about distributing to make sure. 9 times x would give us 9x, and 9 times negative 2 would give us negative 18. So just as before, x minus 2 is our inside, so that's a factor obviously. Our outsides, 10x plus 9, are our other factor. So x minus 2 times 10x plus 9 for that one. Let's look at one more. You'll see why in this one with the negative signs, it's particularly beneficial maybe to think of it this way. So if we look at the first half, I can pull out a 2 and I can pull out an x in common. So if I pull out 2x, left over in the first one, I would have an x. Left over in the second term, I would have a plus 6. So 2x times x is that, and 2x times 6 is that. Now, maybe a little tricky with what do I factor out to make this work out. So if you're not sure, again, copy that x plus 6 down that you already are saying is going to be part of the answer, part of the list of factors. And you simply say, what times this would give me the second half, right? So what times x would give me negative 5x? Answer is negative 5. Now, does negative 5 times 6 give us negative 30? Sure it does. So that means when I distribute negative 5, I get the terms that I need. Okay, so we have x plus 6, definitely a factor. And the remaining outside terms are my other factor, 2x minus 5. Okay, so that is our intro to how grouping works, just pairing the terms and doing GCF and making sure that you get factors left over that match. What we're going to do in the example videos is actually show you how to factor trinomials. You will start with 3 terms with trinomials, tri meaning 3, and we will tell you how to break up the middle term so that you actually have 4 terms, and the expressions will look more like what we have in this video where you have 2 pairs of terms. So check out our example videos. We have several of those, and we'll get you factoring trinomials by grouping. All right, good luck.